Am I the asshole for refusing to discuss my nephew with my parents?
My husband, 30 male, and I, 28 female, have custody of my 7-year-old nephew going on 5 months now.
CPS removed him from the custody of my sister and brother-in-law, both 3-3. My husband and I stepped up to take nephew. We have a caseworker who works closely with us and with sister and Bill.
Being honest, for the sake of the post, I suspect my husband and I will be raising our nephew for the rest of his childhood.
To give some but not all context. My sister has 2 kids with Bill. Nephew and my 4-year-old niece. She was born with cancer, and while they removed it quickly then, it returned a year ago and caused a very bad shift in dynamic between them and my nephew.
They were quick to anger with him, ignored him in favor of my niece, and the only time they really appeared to interact with him was when they forced him to visit his sister in the hospital. During one of those visits he wanted some attention. They scolded him. He started to cry. They got mad at him for upsetting his sister, started yelling until a nurse came in to intervene. Then the hospital social worker was called in, and by the end my nephew said he just wanted her to die so he could have them back, and my sister and brother-in-law lost their shit even more. They could not be calmed. They called my nephew all kinds of names and wished he'd die instead for sucking up attention from his sister. When CPS were looking to place him with family, my parents also wanted to, but they were denied because it was believed they would not listen to the caseworker and would take him to see his sister, and that's a no-no because he cannot have contact with his parents outside court-ordered supervisors and his caseworker.
So we took custody.
My sister and brother-in-law have made zero efforts to focus on their son since losing custody and have expressed no remorse or regret for what happened. They also turned down help offered by CPS, including therapy and supports to allow them to spend more time with nephew and not just niece.
My parents hate that my husband and I got custody over them.
They hate that we're not defying CPS orders and bringing him around his parents and sister. They hate that we tell them nothing about how he's doing or what he talks about. They have asked me repeatedly if he regrets what he said and if he misses his parents and sister and wants to go back. They have also asked what his therapist, court-appointed, has said. They wanted to attend therapy sessions and the caseworker said not to, which we had already done, but she wanted me to know it was an official thing too and could back myself up if needed with it.
There is technically nothing stopping me from talking about him since they're blood relatives.
But given everything I feel it's best not to. My parents told me recently he's their grandson, and just because I have custody, it doesn't mean I can work against the rest of the family. That I should not be keeping things about their grandson from them. They told me they know I can talk about it.
Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Your parents are acting as advocates for your sister and Bill. You're acting as your nephew's advocate. So you and your parents are at cross purposes.
You're doing the right thing.
I'm sorry for your sister and her family. You are dealing with a lot.
But this must have been a frightening outburst for CPS to remove the child from their custody.
You are acting like a parent, doing what's in the child's best interest. Not the asshole. Checks notes. They want you to defy a court order. They want access to confidential information.
They attempt to play, "We are the grandparents and have the right" card.
Yeah. Not the asshole. It sounds like you have done it, but be sure the school knows, any daycare knows, and any other activities. Not the asshole.
As long as your parents are wanting to go against CPS, then they are not looking out for your nephew's best interest.
And therefore, you are correct, and considering that any information they get could be used for his harm.
The fact that they are saying that you are working against the rest of the family shows a warped view. Not the asshole if they want to visit their grandson, please make sure they see A. As long as they adhere to the rules that it is to be focused on him and that they not bring up his sister and or parents. Since I don't think that they will be able to abide by those reasonable restrictions, you will not be denying them access, their actions will be doing so.
Not the asshole. You might want to contact our social worker and tell him, her what is going on.
They sure have the capability to talk to your parents and or get a court order prohibiting them from doing what they are trying to do.
Not the asshole. But the rest of your family is. How could they treat a little boy like that? And your parents sound like attention-seeking persons.
Tell them the next time they ask about their grandson that they should talk to your sister instead, why she can't be the mother of her son anymore. Why has she abandoned her family and treated him like trash?
And when she comes around, Then you will help them to reconnect as a family.
But until then, you are the only person who looks for the needs of this little 7-year-old boy. And you will make sure that he is not forced to do things he doesn't want to, or worse, that he has to be taken away again, because you went against court order by forcing him to meet his sister.
Am I the asshole for telling my sister to stop talking about her divorce around me?
My sister and her husband are getting a divorce.
He moved out of the family home and filed.
My sister didn't see it coming despite warnings that it could happen because she went behind his back. The story basically goes, she married him knowing he had absolutely no interest in having his mom, stepdad or half-siblings in his life.
He didn't like his stepdad. He didn't want half-siblings.
That was something everyone in our family knew.
He was open about having no desire for contact.
My sister married him, had kids with him, and then decided he was wrong to deny his family for being steps and halves, so she was making contact and introducing the kids behind his back. She argued with him when he found out and said if nobody else, his half-siblings deserves to be included because they're the most innocent in his family. They didn't ask to be born and weren't a part of any of the wrongs his mom and stepdad did.
He told her he wanted nothing to do with them and they weren't his real siblings anyway.
He also told her she had gone behind his back and betrayed his trust and he was not going to stand for it or allow their kids to see that man as grandpa or those kids as aunts and uncles. My sister doesn't want her marriage to end but has also been pissed at her husband because he's correcting stuff she told their kids about the stepdad and half-siblings and has told their kids they, stepdad, half-siblings, are not family and stuff.
She's mad at him for that because the kids are more resistant now to contact with their paternal side and don't call them grandparents, aunts, uncles anymore.
But she also doesn't want to divorce her husband.
It's a mess. It's crazy. My parents are encouraging her to open up and stuff. To talk about it. I'm less sympathetic and patient. It's 6 months on from him filing and I can't be around my extended family without hearing about this. My sister goes from bad-mouthing her husband to saying she hopes he calls off the divorce and they can work out and be a family again. My sister also tries to talk to me just one-to-one about it. I think my reason for being so indifferent to this, annoyed about hearing it, is because she knew how he felt. She knew what his boundaries were his family.
She had a choice not to marry him.
She had a choice not to go behind his back. To expect he'd be fine with it when she knew, regardless of what anyone thinks of his actions. Hers were not that smart and should not come as a surprise, and I don't feel bad for her. I do, however, feel bad for the kids caught in the middle. When my sister tried to talk about the divorce again 2 or 3 days ago, I asked her to stop talking about it with and around me. She asked how I could be so cold and I told her it wasn't like people didn't warn her. My parents did before they got married because they didn't love how her husband felt about the half-siblings. And hearing about this over and over is getting so old. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole putting aside her actions which are deplorable. You don't get to decide who will be your emotional support human, especially when they are conflicted. She has a wide range of people who can console her and let her rant. You don't need to be one. You can't change the situation. If she doesn't understand why it is happening, she never will. Getting old is maybe a bit harsh, but refocusing from, I can't help you with that, but what else do you need help with? Some people are better at offering practical support than emotional. I agree with you, the poor kids. Not the asshole, man, your sister is not an active listener at all, created this mess and now wants a hype crew. I would not want to listen either. You might want to gently remind her that while you care about her, you need to limit discussions on this topic. Encourage her to seek support from a counselor or therapist who can provide her with the professional help she might need. Not the asshole. The kids are only related to the mother, not the steps, and her husband didn't have a relationship with his mother, step-family by choice. His choice, which is his right. Sis had no right to decide she knew better. I would have divorced her too. Not the asshole, your sister basically chose this by ignoring a very firm boundary her husband had set. Not the asshole. It's been 6 months. She needs to limit her venting to people who actually want to hear it and get a therapist to deal with the fact she blew up her marriage. Am I the asshole for making my mom send me to live with my grandparents? My mom has decided I, 15 male, need to go to live with her parents, aka my grandparents. She made this decision because the last 5 years we have fought over step and half titles in the house. My mom is married to someone who isn't my dad. I call him my mom's husband.
He has a daughter. I call her my stepsister.
My mom has kids with her husband and I call them my half-siblings.
They tried to make us a no-step or half family, and I didn't go along with that.
My stepsister is my stepsister, not my sister.
My half-siblings are half-siblings, not siblings. That's what they are.
I share no parent with my stepsister and one parent with my half-siblings. I learned about those titles in school in like first or second grade. My mom tried putting me into therapy. She tried family therapy for me, her and her husband. They punished me, and he used his old army punishments to try and make me comply and to teach me actual respect, or whatever. Mom talked to me about the why and what can she do to make me feel like I can drop them. She has told me using them won't make me suddenly have a bio dad. He didn't want a kid so he left mom when she was pregnant. Her husband told his daughter I'm her big brother so she was getting upset that I'd say stepsister. Because she learned about it in school like last year and she was upset because step means not real. Which is how she said it. It's been such a big fight for the past 5 years and my mom has given up. She told me I need to go and live with my grandparents. I said fine. My grandparents were eager to have me live with them. Then mom got mad at me and told me I'm making her do this and I should be willing to compromise and work on a solution for me to stay. I told her we'll never agree and if that's what makes her send me away then I won't fight to stay. Mom told me I shouldn't be forcing her hand like this and she told me she can't believe me. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Your mom got mad at you because you agreed with her decision to live with your grandparents? It sounds like she was expecting your grandparents to be angry at you and side with her and is now upset her plan to further punish you failed. Also, do people really find the terms step-sibling and half-sibling offensive? Not the asshole. Your punishment for not sharing other people's delusions is that you no longer have to live with your bullies? I can see why you have no problem accepting it. Not the asshole. Your mom is apparently just trying to manipulate you for the umpteenth time. But going to live with your grandparents is the best solution for absolutely everyone you, your mom, her husband, your half and step siblings, your grandparents, everyone. Do it. Your mom thinks it would be better for you to give in and say you love all her family equally as your family. But that's because she's being very selfish and short-sighted. Her preferred option requires you no longer being a real person with your own feelings. This is an example of how the adults are trying to force a relationship, rather than let one develop. You will probably feel so much better at your grandparents without the stress. Not the asshole. Yeah, your mom's trying to call your bluff. She's definitely manipulating you, but not getting the result she wants. Honestly, she sounds horrible. I can't understand parents that do this. I can't imagine treating my kids this way, or even letting a partner do the same. They are mine to protect and love, not pawns in a game. Tell your mom she needs therapy. Not the asshole. Not the asshole used correct terminology and you were offered by your mom to live with your grandparents, who were willing to take you in. Am I the asshole for telling a large girl we don't fit in the passenger seat? For context, I'm Filipino and male 21 from the motherland. Here we have jeepneys we use for our daily commute. At this specific event, I am seated in front, to the right of the driver. The front fits 3 people including the driver, while the back fits 16, 8 each side. 15 minutes into the trip a large girl, approximately in her 30s, gestured to the driver to stop, indicating that she would board the jeepney. Now I'm no big dude, I'm 70 kilograms at most and 5 feet 10. When she sat next to me. Literally, my right ass cheek is barely sitting on the hard ass seat while my left ass cheek is dangling on nothing. To add insult to injury, my balls is resting on the seatbelt buckle. She then had the audacity to tell me to move further so she can sit in a commanding way. That paired with the non-stop second-hand smoke coming from the driver's cigarette and the 9-hour internship I just did made me reply to her with, "Wala na akong maupuan, hindi tayo kasi dito." Which translates to, "I have nowhere else to move, sit, we don't fit here." She then began crying and calling me fat-phobic. As for my tone, try to imagine if you were tired, in pain, uncomfortable, hot, and keeps on coughing, then an entitled woman commands me to move. I am definitely mad. Am I the asshole?
Not the asshole, it's not fat phobic. To point out she literally does not fit. That's simply realizing the laws of physics.
Okay, I am not at all familiar with your country,
but here in the US, if some random stranger thought they were going to squish themselves in a seat that is so crowded they're touching me, I would definitely hurt their feelings. We just came through the panicdemic, and it's summer, so a sweaty stranger with their germs would probably do me in.
Face vomiting, not the asshole. For even more context. It's rush hour, you're lucky if you even have a seat. And there's no lines nor stations, so it's a race to sit. Some men even cling on the edge of the entrance of the Jeep just to hitch a ride.
The jeepney will stop and go anywhere they please just to pick up passengers.
Plus, they will fill the Jeep to its absolute maximum capacity, where some rear passengers will have half their asses sitting. In other words, jeepney commute, especially during rush hour, is never comfortable. But in my case, I was arguably the one most uncomfortable in that vehicle.
Anyone who bursts out crying at the slightest pushback isn't worth the time it will take to explain common sense to them.
Edit, not the asshole.
As a Filipino, I'm surprised she was hurt by that, which didn't even point her out at all. You said, we. Growing up as a curvy person, if we're fat or curvy in the Philippines, family members and their friends will not hesitate to tell you like it's nothing.
You grow up with it all the time. And I've been on jeepneys. Sardines in a can.
Not the asshole, it sounds more like she herself is cognizant of the fact that she is fat and thinks everyone else judges her as harshly as she judges herself.